Hey, this is Rick Harmon from the big red leather chair, and what I'm ranting about today is the problem of property taxes, specifically property tax auctions. And if you're in charge of a probate estate or trust in California, this is going to be an issue because last year they inadvertently put a moratorium on having the property tax auction. So you've had basically a year, but I've noticed now that they are actually having auctions again. If you're curious where these auctions are held, they're usually held online for most of the 58 counties in California, and you would find them at bidforassets.com. Don't know the people, but they seem to do a pretty efficient job. That's great for them. It's a good job of disposing property when people don't care. But if you do care and want to keep the property, this is what you probably ought to do. Is you ought to figure it's going to take you a couple of weeks just to get, if you haven't been to court and been appointed as a administrator or executor, if you're named in a will, you should probably do that pretty quick because the courts are taking a couple of weeks. So the process is going to work like this. Remember, I'm not an attorney, but you would go and have yourself appointed as, let's say, administrator. You would hire an attorney. Do not try to do this on your own. And the intent's going to be that you're able to go into court and get appointed on it's called an ex parte basis, on an emergency basis. And what that will do, that will give you the sufficient capacity, powers, and authority to do the job at hand. Specifically here, borrow enough money or at least get rest control so that you can get appointed and borrow in order to bring the property out of a tax auction status. With that, you can do a number of things and be able to buy some time, whether you're going to keep the property just for now or forever. Now, here's some things you also might be able to do instead of opening up a probate. If you can pony up the money together right now, you might be able to go and do what's called a 5-pay plan. Now, I don't know about the tax collector's position with this right now, but they may accept that you be able to put the property into a plan where you bring the property taxes current in the current year, as well as spread 5 years of back taxes over a consecutive number of equal payments, generally pretty close. So if you've got $10,000 of payments coming, you'd probably have to have a 5-pay plan that included some interest, going to be over $2,000, I would guess, a year. Now, I don't know if they'll have a monthly plan for you, but that is a possibility. However, if there is no probate and the property is in the name of a deceased person, that might be very difficult, and you probably don't want to experiment with that now. Things take longer than you think. Last year, on about the 10th or 11th of March, we had a property in Alameda County where we had a loan on. We advanced the money to bring it out of defaulted taxes with 1 day to spare and FedEx, and we're able to prevent that property from going to tax sale. Yet, fortunately for the family, the property not only had our money there with the tax collector, but also they were able to pony up some money together themselves, and they were preparing to get rid of the administrator or the person who had been in charge of the estate and be able to pay off our loan, which they ultimately did. But they're able to fortunately get like an extra year to do that, and not everybody is going to be able to get all the parties together. So what you want to consider doing is you ought to consider finding out exactly how much the taxes are. You can go online. If you can't get the information online, you might be able to call the local tax collector. Expect to be on hold for a long time. Between COVID and everything else and the pandemic delays, you can expect that it's going to be much slower service has been what we found. And then you need to find a way to come up with the money. And if you're not in charge, the clerks in the tax collector's office may require to see sufficient paperwork. At minimum, you're going to want to be able to get a death certificate and probably have to be able to get your hands on enough money to be able to put it into a cashier's check format for them. I don't know they're going to be able to accept greenbacks nowadays, and I don't think you can necessarily just walk in there and do this at a counter. So that restricts your ability to do that. Now, if you're able to do this with some other kind of a transaction, you might be able to let the escrow or the title company escrow officer handle this for you. That being said, property taxes are a real thing. What happens if the property taxes are not paid? Well, the property goes to tax sale. Can you buy your own property back at the tax sale? Don't think so. Don't think that's going to fly. So what's going to be necessary is that you find some kind of a plan in place and some kind of a mean to come up with that money. And so what we suggest you do is you definitely find out how much money it's going to take to both pay the current property tax and any back defaulted taxes, and if it's getting close to a tax sale, you have to find out what the total amount is and give yourself a little extra time. Don't try to do a probate estate on your own. Get an attorney. Yes, it's okay to buy one of the great NOLO books on how to probate an estate. It may be a guide so you kind of understand what the journey is going to look like, when you've hired an attorney, but absolutely don't expect you to be able to get through things courts on your own. I've been doing this for well over 30 years, and I'm telling you, it doesn't happen as quickly as you think it is. And so your ability to get powers, capacity, and authority are going to take longer, maybe too long, for you to be able to get what you need to do to bring that property and prevent it from going to tax sale. If it does go to sale, what will happen is it will typically wipe off the bank mortgage. Oh, that sounds great, but it also wipes out ownership of the property. So you no longer have the ownership of the property, or the estate doesn't. If there's a second, meaning a junior mortgage or a HELOC or something like that, that will also be wiped out. So if anybody bids over, for example, we were involved with a property several years ago where it went to tax sale, and they called us just way too late. They call us on the Thursday or Friday before a Monday tax sale. So we did monitor the situation, but the back taxes were something in the order of about $7,000, and the property went to sale for over $180,000. And what this did is it generated an awful lot of, all the rest was surplus. There was no mortgage on the property. Had there been a surplus, what there would have been is an ability for the person in charge of the estate to apply for those for the money that was generated by the forced sale and liquidation by the tax collector's sale. Now, that process typically will take 1.5 to 2 years or more. And the last one that I saw that was in LA County, it took something in the order of about 3.5 years. I saw one that personally happened on some vacant land that I had and had no ability to deal with the property because of geological issues, and that took us some 14, 15, 16 months on 2 lots, 2 vacant lots. There's no mortgages. And so that was a crazy situation. So the ability to go and get your surplus funds is not going to happen overnight either. So in summary, if the property is in risk of defaulted tax sale and going to sale and you do not have powers, you need to have ample time. Get your act together, get your data together, find out how much the back taxes are. Suggest you get a couple copies of the death certificate if that's applicable, if the property's in the name of the deceased owner. And definitely don't attempt to do this on your own. If you're going to get any guidebooks, get them so you know exactly what's going to happen. But hire a good probate attorney. The probate attorneys cost the same. Strongly suggest you go for quality and not just someone who was referred to you by a real estate agent or such. Okay, so go by somebody who is qualified and will not get you in trouble later. So until next time, this is Rick Harmon reporting live from Carbon Canyon on a slightly rainy, drizzly day in March.